December 4th, 1980. A parking lot in Cleveland, Ohio. A 69-year-old woman buying ribbons for a ceremony is caught in a robbery gone wrong. A single shot. She fights back, but collapses in the parking lot. Her name was Stella Walsh, Olympic champion, world record holder, American sports legend. But when the autopsy results were leaked, the world discovered a secret that would spark a media firestorm and force us to confront uncomfortable questions about gender, identity, and what it means to be a champion. April 3rd, 1911. A baby girl is born in the small village of Wierchonia in Russian-controlled Poland. Her parents name her Stanisława Walasiewicz. Just 3 months later, Julian and Weronika Walasiewicz make a decision that millions of Europeans were making. They board a ship bound for America. The family settles in Cleveland's Slavic Village neighborhood, where Julian finds work in a steel mill. To fit into their new country, they shorten their surname to Walsh. Little Stanislawa becomes Stasia, then Stella, a name that would one day be known around the world. At South High School, Stella wasn't like other girls. At 5'9" with broad shoulders and muscular arms, classmates teased her, calling her Bull Montana after a famous wrestler. But what they saw as different, Stella channeled into greatness. She played on boys' baseball teams. She dominated every track meet she entered. By age 17, she had qualified for the U.S. Olympic team. There was just one problem. She wasn't an American citizen. Under U.S. law at the time, no one under 21 could be naturalized. Stella Walsh, born in Poland, raised in America, couldn't run for the country she called home. 1932. The Great Depression has devastated America. Stella's father loses his job. Stella herself is laid off just a week before she's scheduled to take her oath of citizenship. Then comes an offer from the Polish consulate in New York. Represent Poland at the Los Angeles Olympics, and they'll help support her family. The backlash is immediate. American newspapers accuse her of betrayal. The Washington Post calls it brazen professionalism. The Los Angeles Times demands she be barred from the games. But Stella makes her choice. She will run for Poland, the country of her birth. August 2nd, 1932, the Los Angeles Coliseum. Competing as Stanisława Walasiewicz, she crouches at the starting line for the women's 100-meter dash. The gun fires. 11.9 seconds later, history is made. She crosses the finish line in a tie with the world record and takes the gold medal for Poland. When she returns to Poland, massive crowds greet her at the port of Gdynia. She's awarded the Golden Cross of Merit. Readers of Poland's largest sports newspaper vote her the most popular Polish athlete. For a girl from a tiny village that left at 3 months old, she had become a national hero. Over the next 4 years, she's unstoppable. 9 gold medals at the Championships of Warsaw, 2 world records broken in a single day, 7.4 seconds in the 60 meters, 11.8 in the 100 meters. At the 1936 Berlin Olympics, she wins silver, losing the 100 meters by just 0.02 of a second. After that race, a Polish journalist accuses the American winner, Helen Stevens, of being male. Stevens is subjected to a genital inspection to prove she's female, a humiliating ordeal. The accusation was false, but the irony of this moment would only become apparent 40 years later. After the 1936 Olympics, Stella moves permanently to the United States. Through World War II and beyond, she continues competing and winning. Between 1938 and 1951, she wins 40 national championships. In 1947, she finally becomes an American citizen. In 1956, she marries Harry Olson, an aviation draftsman. The marriage doesn't last. He would later tell reporters that she insisted the lights always be turned off during intimacy. They separate after just a few years, though she keeps his name, calling herself Stella Walsh Olson. She never becomes rich from her athletic achievements. In 1980, she's working for Cleveland's recreation department, earning just over $10,000 a year, the most she'd ever made, but she's content, organizing track meets, mentoring young athletes, staying connected to the Polish-American community she loves. Her childhood friends in Slavic village knew something the wider world didn't. As one friend would later recall, they knew about her physical deformities. She was occasionally teased, but in that tight-knit immigrant community, people protected their own. They saw no reason to expose her secret to outsiders. According to that same friend, Stella once said out loud something heartbreaking. "I wonder why God did this to me." December 4th, 1980. Stella's in a good mood. The Polish women's basketball team is visiting Cleveland, and she's been asked by the mayor to present them with a key to the city. She goes shopping for ribbons to decorate the medals. In the parking lot of Uncle Bill's discount store, two men approach with a gun. At 69 years old, Stella is still remarkably strong. When they try to take her purse, she fights back. A bullet tears through her abdomen. The robbers flee, never even checking her pockets where she'd hidden her money. The security guard finds her face down. As he turns her over, a wig falls off. She'd been losing her hair in recent years. The nearest ambulance has a flat tire. The delay costs precious minutes. Stella Walsh dies from her injuries. Because her death was a murder, an autopsy is required, and because of that autopsy, Stella's most private secret becomes public spectacle. On the eve of her funeral, Channel 3 goes on air with a bulletin that would echo around the world. The report claimed Stella Walsh was male. The Polish-American community explodes in fury. Protests erupt outside the TV station. When the full autopsy was finally released, the truth was more complex than sensational headlines suggested. Stella Walsh was intersex, born with a condition called mosaicism. She had no female reproductive organs. Coroner Samuel Gerber concluded that while her biological sex was ambiguous, socially, culturally, and legally, Stella Walsh had lived and died as a woman. Today, on Broadway Avenue in Cleveland, there's a recreation center named after Stella Walsh. Her Olympic medals were never stripped. The International Olympic Committee recognized that her condition was a naturally occurring variation, not an attempt to cheat. Stella Walsh didn't choose to be intersex. She didn't choose to be caught between countries, between identities, between worlds. What she did choose was to run, faster than anyone thought possible. She set over 100 world and national records. She competed for 24 years, an almost unheard of span for a track athlete. She won gold for a country that had embraced her, even though America, the only home she'd ever known, wouldn't let her compete. Her story asks us uncomfortable questions. Questions about fairness in sports, about the rigid categories we create, about how we define what makes someone a woman or a man. There are no easy answers. Perhaps the real question isn't whether Stella Walsh deserved her medals. Perhaps it's whether we, as a society, deserved Stella Walsh, a girl who only wanted to run, who brought glory to 2 nations, and who lived her entire life carrying a secret she never asked for.